This is Keisha here at TradeWithResolve.com, and in this episode of Trading Essentials, we will be discussing Level 2 and time and sales. Let's talk about Level 2. Level 2 is a real-time price quote. And here's an image of a Level 2. It's an example. Now, whenever the market is open, these numbers will be changing pretty quickly and frequently. But this is the screenshot, so it's going to be stagnant, but it's still going to give us all the information that we need to know about a level 2. Now, a level 2 is a real-time price quote, and it gives us a lot of information about the stock. So right here, we're looking at Alibaba, BABA is the ticker symbol. And on the left-hand side of the level 2, we can see that this is known as the bid. And the bid represents the buyers of the stock. So you can see here that we have quite a few buyers lined up here at $96. So that means that there's a lot of demand for Alibaba at $96. On the right-hand side, we have the ask, which represents the sellers. So you can see here we have a few sellers here at 96.06. So the buyers are on the left and the sellers are on the right. So the bid represents the buyers and the ask represents the sellers. Another concept that you should know and understand is how to determine the spread. And the spread is simply the difference between the ask and the bid. So we see here that the ask is currently $96.06 and the bid is $96. So all you do is take the difference. So $96.06 minus $96, there's a difference of 6 cents. So there is a spread of 6 cents. So the spread on Alibaba is currently 0.06. Okay, so let's say that you wanted to buy shares at 96.01. Well, since we have a 6-cent spread, you would actually become the best bid. So 96.01, you would actually be at the top of the list here, making your order the best bid. Now let's say you already had shares of Alibaba. Let's say you had 200 shares of Alibaba and you were looking to sell Alibaba currently. Well, let's say you want to sell it at 96.04. You would then become the best ask. So anytime there's a spread, if you place an order as a buyer or a seller, you'll become the best bid or the best ask. And it's important to be careful because whenever you're trading a stock with a large spread, if you buy, let's say you buy at 96.06 and the bid is at $96, well, you're automatically going to be down on the position because you're paying a high price for the stock. And since there's a spread, you're automatically going to be down 6 cents on your position. So be mindful of spreads whenever you're trading, and that's the beautiful thing about level 2s because it gives you quite a bit of information about what is happening with the price of the stock. It also tells us the different exchanges, which is right here on the far left hand side. So you have the NASDAQ, NSDQ, you have the New York Stock Exchange, NYSE, and a few other exchanges. And then you have your bid size and your ask size. So this shows you the number of shares that people are wanting to buy. On this particular level 2, you have to add 2 zeros. So this 52 is really 5,200 shares. This 3 is really 300 shares. And as you'll see in the next slide, level 2s can be a little bit different depending on your stockbroker, but they give you the same information. So here's an example of a level 2. So we have two different level 2s with two different brokers. So you can see here on the left hand side, this level 2 is a little different. It has a lot more, it's a little bit more colorful. You can see that the colors help differentiate the different prices. So you can see here, we have the bid on the left hand side, which represents the buyers. And then you have, again, the ask, which represents the sellers. And you can see on this particular level 2, notice the size. This size has already incorporated the correct number of zeros. So you can see here, there's a buyer that wants to buy 1,800 shares at $106.80. So that's a buyer right there. On the level 2 on the right hand side, remember, we had to actually add in zeros. So this first buyer here where it says 52, that's actually 5,200. So level 2s are going to vary based on your broker, but they're going to give you the same piece of information. And the main concept to gain and know about the level 2 is that the buyers are located on the left hand side and the sellers are on the right hand side. And another element that this level 2 also has is something known as the time in sales. And the time in sales just tells you the time and the number of shares and the different transactions that have occurred with this particular stock. And we'll get into more details in regards to the time in sales in just a moment. So let's go over the time in sales. The time in sales simply displays every trade that occurs in real time. It displays 4 different details. 1, it gives you the date and time that the trade occurred. 2, it gives you the price that the trade took place. 3, it gives you the volume and size, so the number of shares or contracts that were traded. And 4, it gives you the direction, so it lets you know if the trade was a buy or a sell. So if a buy occurs on the ask, then it is displayed in green. If a sell occurs on the bid, it's displayed in red. And if a trade is placed between the bid and ask, remember we talked about the spread being the difference between the ask and the bid. Well, if a trade takes place between the bid and the ask, it will be displayed in white on the time in sales. So let's look at a picture of what a time in sales window actually looks like. So here is a time in sales window. So you can see here, let's look at the very first transaction. So you can see here, we have the time and then we have the price. So you can see here a stock, so we're looking at CROX, which is Crocs. You can actually see that someone bought 300 shares of Crocs at $49.13. So they actually bought on the ask, which is why the transaction is displayed in green. If we go down to another transaction that's displayed in red, it means that someone sold 700 shares on the bid, which is why the transaction is in red. And then if we go down, let's look at this one here. You can see that this transaction is displayed in white, which means someone made a purchase between the bid and the ask. So you can see here that there was a transaction that took place. Someone actually bought shares in between the bid and the ask. So basically the time in sales is another live piece of information. During the day, you're going to see this is actually going to be live and it's going to be moving. And you can see the different timestamps here. Just a few seconds apart, all these orders were taking place. So it's very active, and I'll show you some live footage so that you can see how a level 2 and a time in sales window looks whenever the market is actually open. But again, the time in sales just gives you information about the transactions that take place in regards to a particular stock. All right, so let's discuss the live action here. So the top left-hand corner, we have the level 2. On the right-hand side, we have the time and sales. And at the bottom here, we have a stock chart. And this is actually Apple. AAPL is the ticker symbol. So let's focus in on the level 2. So again, on the left-hand side, we have the buyers. And on the right-hand side, we have the sellers. So the bid represents the buyers and the ask represents the sellers. So you can see the live action here. It's not stagnant like the screenshot that I showed you earlier. Also, you can see the last transaction. So 153.81. That 153.80, 153.81, that's the last transaction. So we had some buys at 153.82.8, 153.83, a sell at 153.82 is moving very quickly. But anytime the transaction is red, it's a sell. Anytime the transaction is green, it's a buy. So here on the time and sales, you can see we have a time column, and every few seconds you see a transaction takes place. Again, whenever the transactions are red, someone made a sell. When the transactions are green, someone made a buy. We have the price here in the middle column, and on the column in the right hand side, we have the size, so the number of shares. So you can see here at 9:58:30, we had a buy come through, a few buys come through. You can see the price and the size. So the time and sales just gives you a little bit more information. The level 2 just shows you the buyers and the sellers. The time and sales gives you a live quote of each and every transaction. So here we have a candlestick chart. Now I know we haven't discussed candlestick charts just yet, but it's just good to be able to see all these things in conjunction together. So basically the chart simply documents the transactions. That's all that the chart does, is it documents the transactions. The candlesticks are how the data is recorded. So each one of these little rectangular figures, those are known as candlesticks. And we're looking at the 1 minute chart for Apple. So each candlestick represents 1 minute of price action. And whenever you see a red candlestick, that means that the price of the stock decreased. Whenever you see a green candlestick, that means that the price of the stock has increased. So that is the basics that you should know about charts right now. We're going to go into further detail a little bit later, but for now it's just fun to be able to watch the time and sales, the level 2, and then the chart as well, just to kind of get a feel for what it looks like whenever you're trading and what it looks like whenever the market is open and you can see the live action. Another thing that I should note is we discussed when a stock is green on the day or red on the day. And you can see here that Apple is green on the day. If you look at the top there, like it says 27 cents, we're green on the day by 27 cents. Right now we're green on the day by 25 cents. So it's going to fluctuate. So that means we're 26 cents above the closing price of yesterday, which means we're green on the day. And we also had a gap up. So remember, gap ups and green on the day, those are synonymous. So we had a gap up today, therefore we are green on the day. We are currently trading above the closing price of yesterday. So that is live action of a level 2, a time and sales window, and a stock chart for Apple. So hopefully it makes a little bit more sense now that you've seen the live action. I know that just looking at stagnant screenshots, sometimes that's not as helpful as actually viewing the live action. So hopefully now you've been able to kind of have a better picture of what it's like whenever the market is open and the time in sales and the level 2 data is populating. Again, if you have any other questions about level 2s or time in sales, if there's something that is still unclear, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll certainly get back to you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.